What's up there, everybody? Welcome back to Sweat Equity. It's a nice day today. We're in the 50s, I think. So I decided to try to do some work on the boat. Where we left off was I knew I had a leaking oil pan and I got that off. I'll show you all that in detail here in a minute, you know, places where I rusted through. And I was in the process of scraping the old cork gasket off of the bottom of the engine down here, and it was, you know, it was like mid-December. It was really starting to get pretty cold, and we had run out of daylight, so I came out here a couple nights in the dark with my little Coleman lantern down here and started kind of scraping off the big pieces that I could almost just do with my fingers. Today, I got it all off, and I pretty much have it ready to go on, new one ready to go on. So I'm going to kind of show you what I did here. So there's the beast right there. This is a 3.7 liter 4-cylinder engine. It's went under different names and different numbers, I guess. This one is just called the 170. It's for 170 horsepower. Some of them will say 470 on that. I think some might just say 3.7, but these were made, as far as I know, during pretty much the whole 80s decade. And I think they were pretty common in boats of this era. It's essentially a big block forward head, one of them, and the lower end is Mercruiser developed, as opposed to it being like all like Chevy small block, which is what most of the newer Mercruisers are. But this one is a little older. We did get it to, it cranks fine, the compression sounds pretty good. I didn't, you know, I just kind of wanted to see before I went through the effort of taking the oil pan off, because I didn't even know if I'd be able to do it in the boat. I just wanted to see if the engine even had any kind of chance of survival as it was. So, you know, I got this boat for free. I didn't really care. So there was a previous clip in my other video that I did where we did get it to kind of fire really quickly. So I know that it runs, or I bought, and I'll show you the packaging for this. This is just a cheap Harbor Freight multi-tool. These things are like 30 bucks at Harbor Freight because, you know, it's Harbor Freight. And the ones at like Home Depot, I think, start at like 3 times the price of this. But anyway, so this is a scraper attachment for it. A relatively sharp, not too sharp, but, you know, a decent blade there. And it worked really good in the areas that I could get it into. That's the only real issue. I think if you were doing something else, this would really actually be pretty useful. Fine Tools, FEIN 2162. It was not particularly cheap. I mean, these attachments can be as expensive as the tool was. You know, I think it may have been $25, but I would say it's well worth it if you do have a project where you have to scrape something off. What I ended up using though was this. This was in like the paint aisle at Home Depot, this anvil, and it has, you know, like a 90-degree here, which I didn't really need to use much. Definitely worked beautifully for this. You know, it's just kind of like a permanently attached razor blade, although it's not that sharp, so it doesn't really gouge into anything under there. I was looking for a mirror and I found this old mirror assembly that I had just up in the storage, and I just popped the glass part out, and I kind of just got down in here to where I could see it and just kind of worked my way all the way around, and you can see, I mean, you're not going to eat off that surface, but there's no gasket left. There you go, there you can see. So anyway, enough rambling about that. We'll go around to the front of the garage and I'll show you everything else. Alright, so I got all the hardware right here. Basically all I did, I just hit them with some brake clean. I'm just kind of letting them air dry. I'm not getting crazy with these things. They're going to be underneath. You're not going to see them. I just wanted to get, you know, knock the big stuff off. This is, I think, for the dipstick. Over here we got a brand new gasket. The gasket's set, a new valve cover gasket, and I'm assuming an intake manifold gasket or of some sort. About 65 or so dollars for that gasket set, which probably seems expensive, except for the fact that a brand new oil pan you can still buy is something like $450. Maybe it may have been $550, but I think it was $450. There's the old one right there. This is my eBay used one. You can see, you know, just where this thing was just really rusting, and then back here there's a hole right there. That may have been the only hole, but it just got really thin. This one just had a couple little scuff marks on those three areas. I just hit it with some rust reformer paint. Like it makes it look like black paint once it dries, just to kind of give it a little, you know, it was just bare metal. It wasn't rusted, it was just bare metal. Took the drain plug out of the old one, because this one was right here actually. Someone had vice gripped the hell out of that, so I had to heat that thing up and then vice grip it out. And the one that was in my boat actually is just fine. So we're gonna put some Teflon tape around both fittings, the drain plug and the one for this side. Let's put a mark there. That was the angle of that other fitting for the dipstick. So at least I can remember which side goes where. I think they almost might be the same size threads. Anyway, so that's where we're at right now. On the boats, on the engine side, I just, you know, like I showed you, I scraped everything off, and I took some brake clean on a rag and just went all the way around, and then took another dry paper towel and wiped everything down. So I kind of ran my finger along all the mating surfaces on the bottom side of the engine, just, you know, looking for any imperfections. This one I took a roll-lock disc and just, you know, clean this up as best I could. There's a little bit of crud down these crevices, but yeah, it's fine. The new gasket has, and you can tell because both the old ones had this like plastic, like cellophane looking stuff, so I'm assuming that's what's under here. So you got to peel that off and then stick it to the oil pan first, but then you have to make sure you get all your holes lined up. So I'll have to play around with a little bit and see what works, but we'll come back and I'll let you know. Got some Teflon tape. Just got to put a little something on here to seal these threads. You can also just kind of put some sealant like RTV, kind of just like, you know, gets down in the threads. Sometimes it actually makes them thread into things easier than it did before. I seem to have about 3 rows of threads still showing on the old one. You want to take notice of things like that. Before you take things apart, you want to just take notice of as much stuff as much stuff as you can. Take pictures of it. You know, everybody's got their cell phone on them these days. So that way it just helps when you go back together. Like, this definitely feels tight, so I'm probably just gonna go. This last turn, it's about like that. It was like 11 o'clock, like 10:30, 11 o'clock, something like that, as far as the way it pointed. It kind And this is just the drain plug. I don't think you're actually supposed to drain the oil through the drain plug. I think you're supposed to suck it out through the dipstick tube using like a pump. Because I mean, if you drain out of here, it's just going to pour down into the bilge. So it's not really ideal. And of course, I have a nice mix of rainwater, snow, melted snow, oil, probably some coolant back in there right now that I have to like try to flush out into something. Try to give it a couple of turns. Did kind of clean the inside of this out. There's a little bit of like flash rusting in there, but I didn't even like wrote what it was for. So I think what I'm gonna probably end up doing with this gasket is getting it in position one here and just kind of using some of this what is this stuff, like E6000, just like a couple dabs around, just kind of glue this in place on here. It has this, you know, I'm going to peel this off. I peeled it off a little bit. It didn't seem like there was really a lot of stickum. I may, you know, get it in place, and you got to make sure your bolt holes are lined up well. Yeah, I guess it's tackier than I thought. It's like, I'm just going to kind of, I guess let's go around and make sure all the holes are lined up. Push it down. Because we definitely need this to stay in place when we're trying to get it to go down under the engine in the boat, because we don't have a lot of room down there to mess around with the gasket. See the gasket on there, and it does actually stay pretty good. All right, I don't know how much you're gonna be able to see of this, but I figured I'd at least let the camera go, just so you know if I make a mistake, you see it together. So I'm gonna try really carefully to squeeze this down around the side without hitting the gasket on anything. Wish me luck. It's down there, I just have to get it like up under, you know, like the crankshaft kind of sticks down. So that's going to be the obstacle. Getting it around that. There's really no way to lift the motor up without having a hoist come up over the back of it. And I got it out. I wasn't really worried about a gasket when I pulled it out, so. Guess I could try the other side, but I'm pretty sure I pulled it out of this side. But you know what though? I don't know. Maybe the fact that it's angled on this side. Seems okay. Might have to take that fitting back out for the clearance I don't know if it's going to help though. Definitely don't think that side's going to be the answer. Don't know if this side's going to be either. I just did this side. Might need a little more space and take this, like, I don't even know what this thing is, like a knock sensor or something, sticking off the side. See if I can take this thing off without breaking anything off. It's like wedged in there now. Oh, I guess it's an oil pressure sensor. Let's see if that did anything for us at all. Or closer. I don't know what we're hanging up on now. Hitting the oil pickup, which isn't just like 2 bolts to take it off. It's like runs all the way up. I may have to, but all right. So after, I don't know, probably not that long, probably like maybe a half an hour of screwing around with this thing, I finally was able to get it in. So basically right now the oil pan is in, all the bolts are snugged up. I have not torqued them down yet because I need to look up a torque spec, and I don't have a torque wrench small enough, I guess, at home, so I'll have to wait till, well, I don't know, I may just end up snugging them down, just kind of go with my wrist torque wrench. We'll see, but everything is in there. I just had, like I said, I have to actually kind of torque them down and put all the heat exchanger stuff back on this thing, and we should be able to try to make some noise. Anyway, so let me just explain as far as how I was able to do it. So the oil pickup ran down this side of it. This will be the port side, and there was 2 studs that held that on. There's actually, they kind of come through right here, and there's like another one like right up there. And they were the same size. They were 1/2-inch nuts actually. That I just took the nuts off. I had to kind of like get the socket like coming in this way, like from up underneath, and got those off. And as soon as it was loose, I could just, the whole pickup just could like flop up and down. So I basically just did that, pushed the pickup up as far as it would go, and then slid the pan down under there. It still fought me. Don't get me wrong. It still fought me. I definitely had to have that fitting back here, right back there, out. I'm not sure where that is. I got to put that back in before I attempt to put any oil in there, because it'll all run right back out. That's for the dipstick too. That just kind of comes up diagonally up to the front, like right here. I think is where it mounts. But yeah, it's in. Probably spent a good maybe 2 hours today of actual working on it, which isn't bad. I mean, this is like the real guts of this channel. I may be working on different projects. It may be a boat today. It might be, something in the house tomorrow. But it's the sweat equity that I'm putting into this thing that most people would just think is a piece of junk. And either it'll have some kind of value to it. Like, so far I haven't spent much money on this thing. got the boat for free. I spent 60 bucks on an oil pan and 60 bucks for a gasket. So I got about 120 bucks in it. Figure, let's just say $200 with supplies. You know, I bought a couple scraper tools, and I got an oil filter and oil that I bought last year when I first got it. Never dumped it in because, you know, obviously it wasn't going to hold it. So I got like $200 in this thing, and I'm pretty sure once I get all this put back together, it'll run. That's probably about it, but it'll run. And you try to sell a boat that you can say, hey, look, you know, it runs. You can show them that it runs. It's going to be worth something as opposed to absolutely nothing as it was when I got it. So anyway, guys, I really appreciate you watching. Please subscribe. Hopefully I get the run video up. I'm not making any promises. Hopefully it's going to be tomorrow, but it may not be until next weekend. We'll just have to see how it goes. But you know, I really appreciate everybody that subscribes already, but please consider subscribing for more stuff like this. We're gonna, you know, just keep working on this boat. There's just so many things that need to be done that won't necessarily cost a whole lot of money to just improve this thing drastically to where someone can look at it and be like, okay, I see where it's at. You know, I can take it from here, or maybe I continue with it until it's actually something that we actually use. I'm not sure yet. Right now I'm just kind of doing the things that I see obviously need to be done to make it run, and we'll kind of, you know, decide as we go along. So I'm going to sign off for right now. Again, appreciate everybody watching. Have a good one, guys.